We're really talking about what I think is the foundation of a small business, driving sales and the sales engines in these home services business. Let's get into some of the foundational beliefs, the things that Mark believes are the most critical to jumpstart your sales engine.
I look for the right guys that are committed, because if you're just interested, you're not going to jumpstart your business. You're going to be okay.
You are always continuing to challenge your people.
Nobody's perfect, including me, including you, but we can all get a little bit better. Because I did that interview, because I believe in them, now it's time to care.
Before you can challenge somebody, you got to show them you care. He or she who cares the most wins. Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Wisdom of Wrench podcast. My name is Kevin Comerford. I'm your host, and we've got, I think, a powerful two-part series that's happening on this show. We're really talking about what I think is the foundation of a small business, and it really is driving sales and the sales engines in these home services business. The name of the podcast is How to Jumpstart Your Home Services Sales Engine. And it's a two-part series, as I mentioned. Part one is going to be laying the foundation of how to get that sales engine humming, how to jumpstart it, how to make sure that it is ready to have rocket fuel poured on it so it can take off. And part two is going to actually be a case study where many of the things that we're going to talk about in part one have been implemented and the results that have been created. For part one and part two, I am honored to have who I think is the number one sales driver I've ever worked with. He has been a GOAT of all GOATs inside the company that I owned called Service Champions. He was a top performing, highest performing general manager / sales manager in the company. Won Center of the Year. I think I saw 8 years that he was running a location. And that's a big, prestigious honor to win Center of the Year when you've got 5 locations, and to do it 8 times is pretty amazing. I know this gentleman has grown his sales business 30%, 35%, 39% year over year, multiple times. So to say he's special is an understatement. There are many sales managers out there inside of Wrench that I think can learn a tremendous amount from this gentleman. There's many salespeople that we're going to be talking to, or that we're going to be speaking to today, because in my opinion, Mark is the master at motivating salespeople. He also takes the lead in inspiring technicians, how to get technicians to generate great leads. And we can also throw in sales lead coordination in there, how to get sales lead coordination to set great leads. So you're in for a treat today. Like I said, two-part series, big introduction for this gentleman. Let's turn it right over. Mr. Mark Stewart, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. I'm honored you're here. I love you. I've told you that many times. I feel like you and I are going to work together forever. I've told you that.
It's my plan.
You're never going to lose me. But you and I have a great history. You came on board in 2014, correct? I know that. Would you just kind of share with our audience just a little bit about your background and where you came from and how you got here where you are today?
For sure. So started out really college. And I went to college for sports at Cal Lutheran University. Go Kingsmen. But because it was sports, I wasn't sure what I was going to do after college. So it was about college ends and what are you going to do? And I was Cal Lutheran, who's in Southern California. I was from Seattle, and I wasn't going to go back to Seattle. So the first job I found, I had to find a job. First job I found was Enterprise Rent-A-Car. They said it was fun, not a lot of money, but it was fun. So let's give it a shot. And they hired me. 15 years later, I was still there.
Wow.
Went up from runt to assistant manager, area manager, came up here to the Northern California for to run Hayward and Fremont. And then took over the East Bay, the entire East Bay as a regional rental manager. And then in 2008, we couldn't sell cars. The money was bad. Everything was bad. My friends down in Southern California were getting fired. And so I was like, I got to find something. I don't want to wait. So I found Terminex, and Enterprise was a great place for 15 years. Learned a lot of management, really team building, sales, and it was fun. It was definitely fun. Then the Terminex was technicians killing bugs, having them kill bugs and make their territory bigger by selling next door. And I ran all San Jose to Seattle. So that was probably why I took that, was I had back home. Did that for 3 years. And actually, then they wanted me to move to Southern California, and I couldn't move. I had my second kid, and I kind of a little back and forth. So I jumped to a localer place, car hop, staying up here. I was only there for about a year, and all of a sudden I got a call from you. Well, from who was it?
Mercedes, Sarah?
No, the military guy.
Darren Hicks.
Yeah. Hicks called. I answered the phone, and I was still traveling a little bit with car hop, and all of a sudden he told me, no more travel. It's all right here. What's the money? So I was super interested. Met Ray, met you. I'm like, yes, this is the right kind of techs. This is the right kind of business. I saw the core values. I saw the foundation. This was enterprise with techs, with a great process. And I love the people already. And I said, this can work. This is the right spot for me. And now it's 11 years later.
Wow.
And I plan 11 years more.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what's important for everyone to know is we were at a point where our company was growing, and we had made the decision, and it was because of a mentor of mine that had said, look, you got to be careful just hiring managers up through the company, like promoting technicians to be managers, promoting salespeople to be sales managers. It's good to do that. And, we've got many examples of success. And I know you could point those out because they've worked for you, where you promote people and that's what they want. They want to move their career in that direction. Also going outside the organization and hiring what I like to refer to as professional managers. They know nothing about the HVAC business, but they understand people. They understand how to drive sales. They understand process. They understand how to recruit people. And that's really what Mark was. Mark was us going out and saying, we're going to hire some professional managers to drive our business and help us grow it. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, did you help us grow. I think when you came on board in 2014, we were 32 million. Today, we're north of 120 million.
That's right. So
much of that growth can be attributed to what you've done and the influence that you've had. And I know in episode 2, part 2 of the series, we're going to get into a case study with you and the new role that you're in right now, and what you've recently taken on. But let's stick to the foundational stuff, Mark, that in this series that really, really sets you apart, that makes you different, and what it is that people need in order to get that sales engine jump started. Okay,
for sure, dead on. And And one thing about that too, when I met you and it was 32 million and I think that's pretty small compared to Enterprise and Terminex all around the country. And I remembered Enterprise, me and my friends that had grown up through Enterprise all said, man, we should have done this in 1962. We'd be millionaires. We didn't start until the 1990s. And I realized because Enterprise started 7 cars just in St. Louis. Wow. Now they're all over the world. And when I saw this, I said, this is going to be all over the world. You could see the vision. You could see the foundation was there. The process was there. So that's where I jumped in. It's going.
I love it. I love it. So before we move into foundational stuff, just wrap up, finish with your family. I know you got a couple boys. Let's talk about them for a second.
Yep. Two very proud boys. One boy is about to senior at Cal High next year. He's a football player and track. And then I got a younger guy. His name is Jammer. JJ is the older one. Jammer is the younger one. He's going to be a salesman. And I knew he was going to be a salesman right away because in 3rd grade, it's a great story. Okay for a story?
Of course.
So in 3rd grade, he has he comes home with catalogs of wrapping paper and cookie dough. And he says, Dad, I know you can sell. Let's go. I want to win a little contest in 3rd grade. So I'm like, all right. Well, what's your script? What do you got? And he had a little script from the teacher, and he was convinced it was going to work. And I said, oh, okay. So he went to the next door neighbors. Of course, he bought from us, went to the next door neighbors, bought from us. He goes, Dad, I'm 4 for 4. I'm like, yeah, but you're doing great. You're doing great. We'll see what happens. All of a sudden we got to the neighbors that didn't know me, and now he's 4 for 7.
Yes.
And he's not quite sure this is what happened. I'm like, well, let's go work on a little different, get their attention. Get their attention before just reading your little note card. So we worked hard for about a half hour at home, and pretty soon went to that 8th door, and this is great. We practiced this. He knocks on the door, knock, knock, knock. They answer. He goes, you like to party? And he's ready for every answer. As soon as they say, yeah, we like to party. Great, me too. I got wrapping paper and cookie dough. What do you want for your party? And if they say, I don't really like to party, I understand. You probably don't have enough wrapping paper and cookie dough for your parties.
Oh, that's great.
And every year he's won the sales thing over there for his elementary school, and now he's in middle school. He's going to be a salesman. I'm going to hire him right away. Service champions.
I love it. I love it. So one of the things I've always found intriguing about you, Mark, since the day you walked in the door, your philosophy was, we're going to measure this damn thing based on 2 things. We're going to measure, we want to drive revenue, drive profitable revenue, but we also want to make sure we got client satisfaction. You have always kept so focused on client satisfaction. And you've almost made that more important than driving revenue. I'm not saying almost, you have.
That's a long-term goal.
Can you talk on that? Like, where'd you learn that? What yeah.
Yeah. Well, a big part of that was Enterprise taught me that their mission statement was take care of clients, take care of your employees, and profits will grow after that. Pretty simple plan. And even more than that, to ever get promoted to Enterprise, because you couldn't be hired as a manager at Enterprise. You have to start at the very bottom.
Washing cars?
Not as washing cars, but renting cars at the cabinet. Yeah. And so you'd sell, and then you'd sell pretty well, take a couple tests, become assistant manager, and then you build your teams around there. But to ever get promoted, you had your entire center, your office, had to have above customer service score. If you were 1 point below that, you might be the best assistant manager, ready to be manager. If you're 1 score below, you couldn't get promoted. So that was the importance ingrained in me to make sure, hey, we're always going to make sure that we have the top customer service score, at least above average, if not at the top, to make sure all my guys and gals could get promoted. And I learned how to solve some solutions, just make sure we were always on top. And that was, Enterprise made it more important to grow because that was going to be the future.
Yeah, that's great. And you certainly have brought that to service champions, and you have regularly sent that message over and over to the salespeople, to technicians, that we're going to win this thing through client satisfaction. And this coming from a guy who I started this whole podcast out by saying, who I think is the best sales driver that I've ever met. So it's like, okay, start with client satisfaction and the sales come.
And when the clients are happy, they buy more.
Mm-hmm.
They keep coming back. They refer your friends. There's more sales. It's the root, for sure.
Well, let's get into some of the foundational beliefs and some of the foundational, I'll call them, Mark Stewartisms. Okay. The things that Mark believes are the most critical to jumpstart your sales engine in a home service business. And one of the things that I would love you to talk about is something that you said to me, which was people over process.
And process is important.
And process. Oh, by the way, process is important. Would you talk about that a little bit?
For sure. One of my mentors, Charles Hammond, taught me this quite a bit. And because there is a process, there's steps to selling back in rental car days. There's steps that we have, the guys doing it at Service Champions. We have a for sure play. The tech should do the right things to do. But just doing it, if you're a robot, they wouldn't want to buy from you. It has to be the people that makes that sale. The able to confront, be pleasant, just be likable, and also be intense. In fact, you say there's 3 C's, and I often bring up a 4th C on the competence, control, confidence, control.
You got it. Competence, confidence, and control.
Dead on. And then you got to have the commitment. And that's what I'm looking for on all my teams that I've built, whether it's business, whether it's built on my junior football team coaches, or I coach a junior football team. I look for the right guys that are committed, because if you're just interested, if you just want to just do things and be smooth, you're not going to jumpstart your business. You're going to be okay. And I don't like to be okay. I like to up and to the right.
One of the things that jumped out at me that we talked about during our interview process, when we met, 9-time champion in football and Little League. That was on a resume that I saw of yours. 9-time champion. So 9 teams that you've coached have won the championship. To me, that means something. And because I'm like you, I relate everything back to sports. And so talk to me for a second how that fact that ties to a sales team that you're looking to get to be champions as well.
For sure. Well, winning is a habit. I've said that many times, winning is a habit and losing is a habit. And I focus on making sure that that commitment is there. Because if you have the commitment, you're going to figure out all the other things on that process.
Yeah. You made me just come up with a 4th C. I love that. I've been preaching 3 C's for 20 years. Now I've got a 4th C. So commitment. So you're looking for that same commitment from one of the guys on your PGFL football team.
Yes. And even interviewing today, if I'm interviewing a technician, I'm interviewing a salesperson, whoever I'm interviewing, my first question is always, tell me about high school. And I don't necessarily care if you dropped out of high school or if you're a valedictorian. I'm really trying to see what happened next. What did you do? What was your plan after that? How did you recover from that or rebound from that? And where'd you go? And if you quickly see them, I moved up. That's the guy I'm going to hire. I didn't move up. There's an issue over here. There's an issue over there. I went over there. I got more money, but didn't work out. I'm not going to hire that guy. So I'm always looking for just that. Who's committed to moving up?
So up and to the right.
Up and to the right.
I've sat through many interviews with you. I've learned a lot watching you interview. I think one of the special gifts you got, and it was probably from Enterprise, was how to interview right. Somebody taught you, because it's masterful to watch you interview somebody, because it is flat out they are having to sell themselves the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I love about an interview with Mark is always the buyer.
For sure.
In an interview, he's never the seller. He's never selling the company. He doesn't. He's a buyer
until the end. Once I like them,
yeah, keep going.
I'm going to recruit you.
I was yeah. So go there first. So what you're saying is you always start out as the buyer.
I'm for sure the buyer. I'm going to get to know your history throughout high school. What happened next? What happened next? You're going to learn about their jobs. You're going to learn some details, and then I ask a few specific questions about our job. Have you ever been alone in a car all day with clients, or are you on a team? Because I want to make sure techs realize you're going to be alone. Salesmen are going to be somewhat alone. Make sure they know our core values. Ask them core value questions. Just make sure they fit in to what I need.
Give me an example of one of those core value questions that you might ask.
A great core value. Well, throughout the questions, I'll ask one of my favorite questions for the customer service part is Kevin. Tell me about a time you had to super difficult client. No, the question. Hold on, it's been a while. Tell me about a time you had a difficult client that you saved the day and they didn't deserve it, or you gave them more than they deserved. It's a trick question a little bit. I'm going back to core value 1, of course, on
give remarkable service.
Give remarkable service, and they'll give an answer, and at the end, why didn't they deserve it? Why didn't they deserve that? Your question, but they often have a good story. They have a good. Oh, I had a super mad client. I took over. So I'm glad that they took that situation. But then I also want to challenge them on why didn't they deserve that?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't every client deserve great service?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, so going back to even the end, after all these questions, so I know them, I like them, they're yes, now I want to recruit them. I'm going to come back. That was a pretty good answer, but just so you know, I would sell to the devil. I just wouldn't give him a discount. But I'm going to be nice to him. I'm going to, that's my customer service mentality. I'm going to have to deal with it. I'm going to be great with them. I just won't give them a discount.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to take care of them.
Yes.
I'm not going to be mean to them.
Mm-hmm.
So similar to the red flag almost, like where somebody's saying excuse, wasn't my fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's just my coach didn't like me.
Correct.
That mentality. Do you have anything in there that's like a green flag where if somebody says this, it's like, okay, now you've piqued my interest and I'm going to continue going down this path and asking you better questions?
For sure. And it's throughout, my interviews, by the way, are always an hour. Unless I don't like you. After about 20, 25 minutes, if this isn't my guy, I'll just tell me again how you heard about Service Champions and let them go. But if I'm buying, if this guy's I want, or this gal that I want, I'm going to learn a ton for the first 40, 45 minutes. And that last 15 minutes or even longer, I'm going to start training them. Kind of like that situation I just went over. The sales questions, if I ask 3 or 4 sales questions, some good ones. In fact, some of the best sales questions at the time are just, we set a timer up. You have, how fast, I'm going to tell you one word. I'm going to time your answer. You tell me the first 3 things that come to your mind. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Sales. And they'll give, sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes they're quick. But all I'm looking for are the positive words. It's fun. It's money.
Exciting, exhilarating.
Yes. Sometimes it's cheating. I don't want that guy. So you find that word. You go through all these. At the end, I'm going to recruit them. I'm going to make sure that now your answer, I'm going to give you my answer, and make sure they realize it's customer service, it's great sales, it's being a great teammate.
Mm-hmm.
And now you belong here. Now you're a champion. And that makes them want to be here. So yes, I'm going to sell them, but first they got to buy me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any other tips when it comes to, because I like what Andrew just asked you about, what are some of the red flags, or what are some of the green flags that Andrew was looking for? He said certainly a red flag. You say sales and somebody says slimy, they're probably gonna have a hard time here.
Never going to be here.
If that's their belief. But what in some of the green things you're looking for, if somebody says sales are,
well, just a history. If they, I've read some sales books. I like it. Just a history of their history. If they have sold, they like it. They've moved up again. That's for sure the green flags. Throughout the 45 minutes too, one of the biggest questions I'm talking to myself, do I want to have a beer with this guy? So if I like you and you're moving up to the right, that's basically the two. Now there's a good shot. And then I'm going to recruit them. And as I really detail what the job is, they might back out. That sometimes happens. So I want to have a beer with you. Yes, this guy's moving up to the right, but all of a sudden there's going to be some crawl spaces you have to go into. You ever been in that situation? How do you handle a tough client? Because your first answer was kind of soft. Have you ever really dealt with somebody difficult?
I know, having sat through interviews with you, the interviewee, you make them uncomfortable at times.
Have to.
You challenge them. And you challenge them. No, why did you say you have to?
Because they're going to have a challenge in their job. And I've got 62. I got the roster here. 62 people I've hired currently here at Service Champions. Hired more because I've lost a few, but the 62 I have are all pretty good. And if you talk to all 62, I would bet 52 of them didn't think they were going to get the job.
Didn't think they were going to get the job?
Did not think they were going to get the job.
Because?
The challenging interview. A couple extra questions. I didn't think I got that one right. He told me I should have said something different, but I like their answer. I'm just getting them ready for big boy job.
I love it. Getting them ready for big boy job. Because, this might be new to some people as far as interviewing. Sometimes I've seen managers, all they do is sell on the interview, and they actually fall in love with the candidate that they're interviewing because they actually ended up doing all the talking. They're like, I love that guy.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't even let the guy talk. You felt good in the interview, but what about, you didn't find anything out about that person.
Right.
How much are you? Go ahead.
So I was going to ask, was there anything early on in this journey of interviewing people, I'll say for Service Champions, where you were maybe uncomfortable asking in the beginning to where now you're like, hey, that's like the second question. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's like a personal thing or just something where at first you were like, all right, here's the big question. And now you're just like, this is a little bit of an icebreaker.
I really have not changed my interview through all that. It's a solid question for sure. But it's always been service and then some sales questions and then what fits with the have you been alone, the sales, explaining the job. But I learned this job pretty quick. It was the natural part of the benefit was the Terminex, the technicians that were in houses, knocking on doors, going to the next door house to kill something, to kill bugs or prevent rats or dirty stuff. And then I did a job interview here and I saw Kyle Steffenauer do some work and it's like, you know what? It's very similar. And in fact, you talked, this is a decent story. When I took over service manager here, and because the service manager left. And then I was interviewing both to replace the service manager and doing the tech interviews. And all of a sudden, one day, Ray comes in. He goes, "So, by the way, we're moving half this location to Concord. But don't worry, you'll stay in Pleasanton. It's the bigger location. Nothing is going to change for you. The pay is going to be the same. We're on growth mode." I'm like, "I know we're on growth mode. That's why I'm here. I can't wait. But I tell you what, can I go to Concord?" And he's like, "Why would you want to go to Concord? I thought you wanted the bigger spot." I'm like, No. I do. I'll make it bigger, Kevin. Or I'll make it bigger, Kevin and Ray. But more importantly, like all the guys here, they walk in, they say, "Hey, Mark," and then they see you, Ray, and they go, "Hey, Ray, can I have vacation on Friday? Hey, Ray, can I have this?" Because Ray was for sure the boss. Ray was the boss here. And I'm like, you know what? I need my own spot. I know what I'm going to do. I see my plan. I have the right guys are here. I just need to be me. I can be number 2, but I kind of want to be up. I'll make Concord big. I promise.
And you did. And boy, did you.
We picked the right service
became
manager.
the biggest location that we had, doing north of 40 million in revenue. One location. So back to this. Now you've got a great, say, service tech or salesperson on board. One of the things I've always admired about you, Mark, is you are always continuing to challenge your people, whether that be to take themselves to the next level, to get themselves to the next level, or holding them accountable. Can we talk about that for a little bit? Because now that we've got the right person, it's almost like it's just begun.
It just begun.
Can you talk about that a little bit? The continuous challenge that you put forth to your people.
I do. I do that. Here's a little bit of fish or water. Think of that question though. But the biggest thing, I guess, the biggest thing is because I did that interview, because I believe in them. Now it's time to care. Now I care about them. Now nobody's perfect, including me, including you, but we can all get a little bit better. So I find their strengths, find their weaknesses, and definitely emphasize their strengths. One of the books we read on Container Store, going back to great people, was try to find the guys that could be worth 3. So when I hired Scott Self right away, Scott Self could be 3 salespeople.
1 equals 3.
Yes. And at the same time, in that same book, I remember hearing, I look for 3 benefits to equal 1 problem. So I'll find 3 highlights from Scott and 1 issue from Scott. But I'm excited that his first sale, his first time he went out by himself, he sold it. I was going to highlight that. I was going to highlight the paperwork was good. But at the same time, I was going to find something. There was going to be something that wasn't perfect about that. And just to make sure he realizes you're not perfect. As good as you are, you're not perfect. And that's myself. That's all my sales guys. They're very, very good. Very, very good. I take all of them. But everybody can get a little bit better.
So that's interesting, because what I heard you just say is, before you can challenge somebody, you got to show them you care. I heard you say those words. So it's not about challenging and accountability as much as it is show them you care first. And then once you show them you care, then you can look to bring them to the next level. Then you could challenge them. Is that what I heard?
Well said. Well said. I think they'll listen to you. They do listen to you. They listen to you more when they realize that you care both their highlights and you want them to get a little bit better. But if you have to, besides just making them want to get better, you have to have those highlights. Because if they don't highlight, and sometimes I miss some highlights on some guys too. But that's why I focus on that 3-to-1. Sometimes, you know what? I've been kind of cranky at this guy for a little bit. I need to find a couple highlights. Nice sale, nice this. I mean, I look at sales numbers every single day, Kevin. I send them on the email. And the two things I do on the big day, text, great job. And I realized that next morning that if I see somebody that went 0 for 2 on 2 days in a row, that's a phone call. And the reason for that is if I see them 0 for 4, that's their fault. But if they're 0 for 5, whose fault is that?
That's your fault.
That's my fault. I have to get them back going. Something's wrong. Something is different. It might be their process. It might be their attitude. It might be something personal. There's something going on because all my guys shouldn't go 0 for 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that because I think I shared with you, I recently sat through a conference where there was a woman that spoke about a very, very successful CEO. And some might think that she was such a hard charger. And her message to us was, he or she who cares the most wins. So it's right in line with what you're talking about, which is, and she went on to say that caring is a secret weapon for top managers. And it's a lot of times it's forgotten. And that manager that can care and show they care is the one whose team is going to stick with them, whose team is going to want to continue to get better, whose team is going to want to continue to progress and grow. And that's what I'm hearing you say.
For sure.
Brianna, anything else?
For sure. Yeah, and part of that 0 for 4 is I'm not going to call you Kevin, you're 0 for 4. That's not how the phone call goes for sure. It's just a random. I haven't talked to you a couple of days. What's going on? And they're going to talk about how bad those 4 calls were. And we're just going to talk it out. How could you just hold that last one? What about that second one? What about that third? And I already know. I saw some of the notes. I saw their QN note, which is their reason they didn't sell it. I know what they said. I kind of sometimes, I'll even know more. I do a lot of the recovery and calls to make sure what the client really said from them. But it's just hey, haven't talked to you a little bit. What's going on? And I let them vent, and they'll figure out their own solution. I'll help them figure out their own solution.
Yes,
but they're very good at finding out their own solution.
It's kind of like, Andrew, it's kind of like what I've learned is great people. Mark is a great person. He doesn't need to be managed. Great people don't need to be managed. They really don't. Sure, they need to be guided. Sure, they need to be led at times. Most of the time, they're their own leaders. They're the self-starters. And I that is so true for top salespeople, because top leaders like Mark, when they're struggling, they're beating themselves up way more than I could ever beat him up. He's already done it. He's already beat himself up. So there's no need for me as a manager to beat him up. It's quite the opposite. It's like I got to actually pick him up and just remind him how great he is when he's been struggling. It's like that 0 for 4 person. You know, if they've had a history of success, which of course many of the people that Mark and the salespeople he's hired have had a history of success. Let me assure you, they're already taking care of the beating themselves up. Manager just shows that they care and that they're concerned and that they know what's going on too. The fact that you just know. And they know you know.
They know I know.
They know you know. Yes.
So what I wanted to ask you, so like the interview process being what your process right now, you're sort of qualifying a potential hire, right? Obviously, it's an interview, but the reason why you ask some of these like tougher questions is like kind of like, hey, we're going to have a big boy job. Let's see if you can handle it. They get through. Somebody is 0 for 4, or they're just having a rough go at it. Or maybe you just see them and like, hey man, you need a little extra kick right now. Like, what's going on? How do you know how much to push on that employee or that team member?
Sure.
Because again, like I feel like with some of the hard questions during the interview process, a manager might be thinking, well, I don't want to push them away. But we're beyond that point. Like I think you probably don't want that person on your team anyway if a couple of questions makes them head for the hills, right? But now they're hired. They're like, dang, this guy's so solid. I don't want to push him too hard. How do you balance that very, very thin line?
I have a great analogy that all 62 people I mentioned have heard this. You're a freshman. I'm not expecting you to be the starter right now. I'm not expecting you to be all league sports guy. It's the sports guy mentality in me. I'm not expecting you to be the best guy today, but I do need you to be the best guy when you're a senior. Right now, you're a freshman. You were a freshman in high school?
Oh, right, of course, yeah.
Things are tough. You don't know the cafeteria, what girls are cool. The jersey don't even fit. So you're not going to be on the. You're not going to start. You have to. We're working our way up. We're working our way up. It's natural. It's natural that there's a struggle right here. But let's solve this struggle because it's going to happen again. And they get better. And then you're a sophomore and you're a junior, and pretty soon it's just now they're a senior, and now they're senioritis, and we're going back the other way. Now we're going back to sometimes your phrase OFP at time. Now, I know more. Now I know too much. They don't say too much, but I know everything. You don't know everything. There's still more after there's a job after you're a senior. There's a college after there's still more. And just making sure what's your next more. But for sure, all 62 have been a freshman. They have all been freshmen.
Mark just mentioned OFP. It's a term that we use around here, and we're going to have Mark actually share about it in a second. Sometimes we get salespeople that go OFP. They're on their own effing plan. They're on their own effing plan. And that might work in some companies. You just have to be clear with them that here, that will never work. You can make a lot of money. You can have a wonderful career. You can be very satisfied with this job. Yet if you think you can go OFP, it's probably a better place for you. And we're going to come back to Mark in a minute and talk about how you deal with that when somebody's gone OFP, because they do.
Sure.
Maybe it's that senior you're talking about that, has got senioritis, or they forget what made them so great.
And that's where the process is important, because you manage the rule, not the exception. And when they start going OFP, it's typically the exception worked for them. Something is different. The exception worked. This is going to work next time. But in sports, it's blocking and tackling that works.
Oh boy. I gotta share an analogy, because there's one here where you get a salesperson that continuously quotes one-legged appointments. And the reason they quote a one-legged appointment, and what I'm talking about is when maybe just the wife is there and the husband is yet to sit through the presentation, and all of a sudden you get a salesperson that quotes a one-legged appointment, only the spouse, like I said, or one of the spouses there, and he sells it. I am absolutely convinced that is the work of the devil. When that one-legged appointment sells, it's the work of the devil. Because then the salesperson thinks, oh, I got one. So now they start quoting one-legged appointments every time when, they got one 40 times ago. So that's why I think it's always so you got to be very careful to know that when it was the exception,
Correct.
not the rule. That was an anomaly. And as I said, in fact, selling a one-legged appointment is the work of the devil. It is going to come back and haunt you and bite you over and over again and take away income from you, take away job satisfaction, because what you're supposed to do there is, reset the appointment. Make it so you can get both people there.
Yep. And there's a second reason they do that.
Tell me.
And a big part of my manage to help them not make that decision is they're 0 for 1 today. And they feel like now, because I didn't sell this today, I'm going to have I mentioned I send the scorecard out every single day. Mark's going to put me 0 for 1. So let me just see if this works with Mrs. here without Mr. But again, man is the rule, not the exception. Had you reset, now you're 0 for 1, and the Mrs. said no. How are we going to sell it?
Mm-hmm.
Whichever FSR, salesperson, how are we going to sell it? Well, it wasn't my fault. It was just that we should have had both people there. Well, we tried.
Whose job is it now?
We definitely asked for both people to be there. But now how are we going to sell it? And sometimes they focus so much on their stats, and my job is the stats are going to be at your performance over time, not one call. Your stats are over time. So how are you going to sell Mrs. Alone?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to sell Mrs. Alone a lot better when you reset it, making her want to reset it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you make her want to reset it, now she doesn't want to buy from you at all. Now, back on the Alan, great podcast from Alan Smith, now she doesn't like you because you're making her get the husband here. Now I don't like you. Now I'm not buying it anybody. And the salesperson is going to say, it's all because there's a one-legger, Mark. But how are we going to sell it? I promise you that house is going to sell something from somebody, buy from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's not you. Or is it still going to be you? How are we going to get it? And so they'll reset. They go back to, again, manage the rule.
No, say pull down the microphone just a touch. Perfect.
Yep.
I just want to see your face.
Got it.
Your face is important for the camera to see.
Washed up today too. Yeah. Shaved up.
Yes.
Yes.
I watched a podcast yesterday, and the microphone was in the guy's face the whole time. And I was just begging. I was just hoping that I wanted to see his face.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I was sharing a great podcast with Jelly Roll on it.
Right
Great
on.
podcast. Yeah. But I wanted to see his face. It was the guy that was interviewing Jelly Roll.
Yep.
So anyway.
Yep. Right on. That's how I bring it back is people over process. The process is important.
Yep.
But now you got to be the people. You got to be the guy. You're the right guy for that call. It was just Mrs. We'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I'd like you to touch on, again, a foundational thing that you've shared with me over and over again, is there's nothing new. There's nothing new. Are you doing it? Are you doing it? And what you said to me is it usually comes down to an attitude. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. We're going back to a robot's not going to sell a whole lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the attitude. Every sales meeting, I actually have one of the agenda items, mindset, attitude. Almost every salesperson doesn't want to hear this sentence at the time. But they remember it later. Because every salesperson has the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the right. And that devil talks to them a lot. These calls aren't good. The tech's not that great. Price got too high. So some other special, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to have that angel on the right helping you out. And so in fact, Peter Kokelar one time said, you know what, Mindset is the biggest impact of your next call, your rest of the day, rest of your life. Because that's what's on the agenda. So he didn't want to hear it all the time, but when he said it back to me, I had a big smile. So I know they hear it. It is attitude. For sure, attitude is the number one thing to me in sales and in your people. If they have the right attitude, if they have that right culture, if they've been on winning teams, I'm going to grow this business. Winning is a habit. Winning's a habit.
Yep.
Thank you for saying that, because that was my question. So let's say I'm 0 for 7, like you were mentioning, like something's wrong. Maybe I did something wrong. But for me, now that losing habit is starting to gain some traction and starting to weigh on me. How do you pull somebody out of that, we'll say, quote, losing habit when, again, because we understand winning's a habit, so losing's a habit. I got a really bad habit right now. It's going to vary dependent on each person, but like, how do you kind of pull somebody out of that rut?
Well, if the phone call didn't work and the next day phone call didn't work, then that third call, which is very rare, I'm definitely going out with them. Now it's let's go see what's really going on.
And you're jumping in the truck with them.
Jumping in the truck.
And
Meet him at the house. Jumping in the truck.
You're riding on the call with them.
Yes. Start to finish. No pop-ins. Just a start to finish. From the start, what was your pregame? What's going on?
And how do you kind of soften that? What I mean is, like, if I'm already in a bad rut right now, it's like, damn, now Mark's going to be watching me. I really don't want to screw up now. Like, can you kind of like, almost like how we did before this podcast? It's like, hey, we're just going to have a conversation, but the cameras happen to be rolling. Like, how do you do that for them on a call?
Yeah. Well, Andrew, you're over 7, but what about the 3 calls before that? What was going on the 3 calls before that when you did sell them? What were you doing? What was how did you sell those 3?
I was just running the playbook that I saw Alan Smith talking about on the Wisdom of Wrench podcast.
And as far as the note taking, what did that client, that last one you sold, what made them buy?
Well, they had a conversation with their husband that was in the room.
So you got everybody there.
Yeah.
And what did as far as your fact finding on that call, what did you learn at that house that made them want to buy from you?
Yeah, I just kind of showed them basic facts about how much money they were spending currently and how much they could be spending if they were to go with the new system.
This could be a long conversation, Andrew.
Sorry, I'm just throwing stuff I've heard on this show. Let me rephrase that then. So the first question, her husband was still stuck at work, and I just pitched her the offer based off of my findings that I typed into an app.
I got it. So tell me more. Tell me more about your story.
Yeah. I showed up to the house. They were looking at possibly just getting a like-for-like system. They didn't really know what they were talking about, but they said they didn't want to spend a lot of money on it. And so I just kind of gave them a pretty basic like-for-like system. And I showed her the price. She said she wanted to talk to her husband, and that's kind of where the conversation ended.
Okay. This is the one that you didn't sell.
Correct.
Right? Okay. I got it. So tell me more. Then what happened?
Yeah, no, I reached out to my manager to see if there was any discounts going on or anything. But there wasn't really nothing I could do for her because I kind of already laid out all the numbers without really talking to anybody.
It sounds tough. If you ran that again right now, what would you do different?
I mean, after listening to this conversation, I would probably ask to see when her husband would be coming home again, or if we can get on the phone call with him.
That's the right play. That's the right play. Just a ton of questions. They'll get to the right answer.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I've never been on a call before, so sorry about that.
That was great. What I love is Mark was like, "Tell me more, Andrew." You're like, "Wait,
I'm like, I don't know, man." But no, that was good.
You did great. You did great.
But ultimately, it's working. I think the question you mainly asked was when they're 0 for 7. We got to kind of work backwards. You didn't close it. What was the presentation? Was the presentation good? was a fact. What fact finds did you build for your presentation? How are you connected or introduced and liked the client before you even did the fact finding to get the question? So you got to work backwards. But then that second part was if they're over 7, they're beating themselves up, like Kevin said. I want to remind them, what about those 3 for 3 you had Monday?
Yeah.
You aren't a freshman anymore. You're good. That might have been law of averages, whatever, 7, but you're good. Now go get this next one. All right. In fact, what is your next call? How are you going to sell it? Just get them. And they do think forward. Our salespeople think forward more than backwards all day long. So just get them a little more, bring their attitude back to, you're going to go sell this one. I know you're going to go sell this one.
And Mark, will you ever, I think I've seen you do this before. Will you ever look to, if someone's struggling, will you ever look at the board and look to give them like a layup? I mean, I know that's hard to
if I could find a layup, I would.
But all of our leads suck.
If I could find a layup, Kevin, I got 3 pristine calls a month, and I can't always find them. I got 3 a month.
But
usually don't see them.
The other 650, they suck. They're terrible leads.
There's typical average. They're going to buy from us, someone else, now or later.
Yep. That's great. It's great. So I want to switch over to something I think you do really well, which is you run a great sales meeting where there's a ton of peer accountability and there's a ton of peer sharing. You do it every week. I've seen you do it many times. And you also refer to it as scoreboard watching. Talk about what are some of the things that where you challenge your salespeople in a sales meeting to, well, not necessarily challenge, but you just demonstrate peer accountability and peer sharing.
Sure. The and all that scenario we just had with Andrew is some QN reviews is some of that bringing up what happened to this call that didn't sell. I often know what didn't sell about it. I'll go a week behind, and in fact, example, every month I do check 10 marketed calls and 10 tech set lead calls that didn't sell, didn't recover, didn't do anything. And on the 10 that didn't sell tech set, almost every client, because I'm just waiting until next year.
You'll call them yourself.
Yes.
Wow.
You guys are great. I'm just going till next year. The 10 marketed calls, harder to get, by the way. Sometimes they don't want to talk to me, so I feel like it was a bad situation. But when I do talk to, if I get 5 of the 10, almost all 5 bought from someone else. But our salespeople often think marketed calls are worse than tech set lead calls. But the marketed calls all bought. They all bought from someone. How do we get that? So going back to, I like those calls. I like to bring up those calls as the part of the sales meeting review, just to go over. I won't say any name of a QN, or Frank.
QN, by the way, stands for quote not
Quote
sold.
No. Quote not sold. Yes.
Quote no.
Yes. I'll pick on Frank because Frank's my partner. So if Frank ran this call and didn't sell it, Frank, tell us all about this call. And he's going to have a lot of rumbling of everybody's heard it. She wasn't here first. The tech didn't have enough pictures, whatever it was. Okay. But you sold without pictures. And we know what to do when Mr.'s not here. So what did you do? And just get back to the real reason why we didn't sell it. And then ask them what some things that they do that would make the sale better. And most importantly, though, is of all the salespeople, they all have a little unique ability, better than someone else. I highlight Vinny as we bring up. He actually has a lint roller. First time I went on a call with Vinny, he is going to be sharp. He is going to be creased shirt, lint roller, wipe down his iPad. Everything is super clean when he walks in. Not everybody does that. But I want to make sure everybody realizes Vinny did that. So I'll bring up what works. A guy like Chris, when he's in his game, he is fun. Like the clients are actually having fun with his call. Not everybody can have fun with a call. Bob can tell great stories. Not everybody can tell great stories. So I'll have, you know what, Bob, share some of your stories.
Yeah.
Somebody's just telling clients he's been here 125 years.
Mhm,
And the Comerford and his badge. But just some tell stories, some have fun, some be sharp, some just do the explore stuff, are great at that. But use that, bring out their unique ability, their edge, bring that to the next guy. And they'll realize I'm not that good at that. I'm not as clean as Vinny. I'm not as fun as Chris. I don't tell the stories as Bob, but I can get better at that.
Yeah. Because I clearly see that you will highlight way more than the QNs. You'll highlight who's having success and you'll want them to share.
Yes.
Who had the top Comfort Cloud sale this week?
For sure.
Who had the top, and you'll ask them about that specific call, and maybe they sold $37,000 on a Comfort Cloud lead.
For sure.
They're going to be talking about that in the sales meeting.
And that's after. That's brings the highlight. So if there's some challenging ones, I want to bring them up.
Yep.
But at the end, yes, here's some of the biggest sales, $70,000. Cameron, how'd you do it? How was your pregame? How was your fact finding? How was your intro? How was the presentation? How'd you close it? And let them tell a story. And this was a water heater lead that we sold for $67,000. Water heater plus insulation. We call it Comfort Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you do it? How was the introduction, your pregame, your fact finding, your presentation, your close?
It's great.
And they love to brag.
God, and we love when they brag, and we love when they brag, because that is, and that's the beauty of salespeople. I love it when they want to talk about their success, and I want them to talk about their success because I know that all the other salespeople are getting encouragement from that. I know you know that. They're getting encouragement, especially that salesperson that might be 0 for 3 and think that our pricing is too high and I'm never going to sell again in this market. When they have just sat through a sales meeting where 6 other people talked about sales that they made this past week, it's difficult to be like, we can't sell anything in this bloody.
It is.
You know, your guys are closing north of 60% right now over the last 2 months. We're going to talk about that in podcast episode number 2 and how you've made that turn with them. But they're doing some pretty amazing things right now. And I think part of it is, people like to be on winning teams, and you've got a hell of a flywheel going right now.
Expect to win. Yep.
Expect to win.
Yep. And every day they see that sales, a great part of the story is every time they see that, because I do send it out every day, the scoreboard, they see 3 for 3. And what if Bob was 3 for 3, what does every other salesperson think about Bob's calls?
Oh, he must have got the easy calls.
They got the easy ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you have Bob tell that story. And Bob tells that story. It was tough. That husband wasn't there right away. The tech didn't have all those pictures.
Yeah.
They had 3 bids sitting there in front of already. And I sold it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they every time they see 3 for 3, everybody thinks they got the easy ones. They only got 3 a month.
3 good ones.
Three pristine calls a month. I got 3. I'm pretty sure I was going to go. All the rest, I kind of cross my fingers and trust these guys to go do it, and they do it.
All right, you mentioned it earlier. We got a salesperson that goes OFP, right? They're on their own effing plan. OFP. How do you bring them back in the fold? Maybe they've got what's called the disease of me. Maybe they forgot. Maybe they go Antonio Brown versus who's the other Brown?
You got your guys' favorite, Tim Brown.
Tim Brown.
There you go.
They go Antonio Brown versus Tim Brown. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Or the other guy. We were just talking about the other Brown. I can't.
AJ?
AJ Brown. They go Antonio Brown. Again, 3 sports guys here. Antonio Brown, I'll just really quick, he is a receiver who was one of the best receivers in all of football until he became the best receiver in football. Once he became the best receiver in football, he thought it was all about him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's yet to recover. He's yet to recover. He got the total disease of me. Yeah, he's now in prison. He got the disease of me, but none of that was true his first 8 years in the league. It was incredible.
He was. I picked him on my fantasy team. He was that good.
Yeah.
The beauty, I don't have too much of that. The beauty of that, it's super rare. I think that's the locker room, just being a coach, a locker room, realizing that there's different dynamics. Sometimes they are a little selfish, bring it back in. Sometimes they are disgruntled, bring them back in.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're prideful, bring that a little bit back in, just a little bit. Just keeping that locker room smooth.
Why'd you just say a little bit back in?
I've shared this. Part of going back to even the sales interviewing, there are 3 characteristics of very good salespeople. And they're going to sound somewhat negative, but I love them. Some of the salespeople are selfish. A lot of that is confidence, is the positive side of that, but they have a selfish side. And I got to ring that back in. They're often disorganized. The best salespeople don't love a lot of paperwork, don't love a lot of extra work, but we have a lot of paperwork needed.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to ring it back in. But even that disorganized part, to them, what I see from them, because disorganized is a bad word, but they're more just, I said it before, future thinking. They don't want to do yesterday's paperwork. I did this, I already sold this. This is before. That's the disorganized part. I just want to go sell this next one. I'm excited for this next one. So I got to bring that disorganized back in, but let them, we got to catch up with yesterday before you go sell this one.
Mm-hmm.
And they are emotional. And I love that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you got to bring it back in because it can go negative.
Mm-hmm.
That's that. And that's probably the best analogy of your Antonio Brown.
Mm.
He got a little bit too emotional.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
So the best salespeople, I heard you just say, can be a little bit selfish, can be a little bit disorganized, and can be a little bit emotional.
And those are all great characteristics.
And those are all great characteristics. And I'll add one more. I think salespeople are always looking to sell me on something, whether it's this was a bad lead, there's no way I could have sold this, and they're always selling me on something.
And you want that?
And like you said, I have heard time and again, some managers don't like that, and it's like you got to be thankful they're always selling.
Yes.
You wouldn't want anything else.
Yes.
You wouldn't want anything else, because if you look to take their knees out or neuter them if they're a stallion, look out. They're no longer going to be a stallion.
Yes.
You want them to be that way.
I love when I give them a little bonus and they ask for another $100. I love it.
And you don't get pissed off at it.
No, that's because they're going to ask for it in the house. They're going to ask these things in the house. You have to ask. I love when they challenge me too. I need that. And that's why I say bring it just a little back in.
So good. So you mentioned locker room, always keeping the locker room tight. So now you've found the right person, right? You've emphasized people over process. You did that, and you shored it up through the interview process. You demonstrated now that you've got these salespeople on board that you care for them. Mm-hmm. So now you can hold them more accountable. And I just want to say something about that, because I'm a believer that I think you show a different level of care towards different salespeople. Let me tell you what I mean by that. I'm a firm believer that if I have higher expectations on one salesperson over another, meaning there are some salespeople I expect them to do 4.5 million, 5 million this year. There's other salespeople, Mark, that we expect to do 2.5, right?
That's right. Freshman.
So we've got different expectations, right?
Correct.
I also believe, though, the way that you keep that $5 million salesperson continuing to strive is if your appreciation exceeds the expectation. So as long as you show appreciation for that $5 million person that's greater than the $5 million expectation, they're going to be okay.
Yes.
And I got to show a higher level of appreciation for a $5 million guy than I do a $2.5 million guy.
Yes.
It's just the way it is. That in my experience with managing high performance salespeople.
Yes. And that's a lot connected to that freshman and the senior. I expect the senior, the captain, to be there every day. 100%. Freshman, 99%.
Yeah. And appreciation may show up in just communicating with them what they want. They may want to just be left alone.
They may.
And a senior I can do that with.
Correct. Not too long though.
Not too long. Not too long. Thank you. Spoken like a true high performance sales leader right there.
Yes. Another analogy for that story, I mentioned I have 2 boys. Most every parent says, I love my boys the same. I don't say that. I always have a favorite kid. It's just a different kid, depending on who's got good grades, who's got the room clean.
Mm-hmm.
Big expectations.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I love them both.
And you love them both. Yep. All right. Well, we're going to wrap part 1, laying the foundation for how to jumpstart your home service sales engine. So much great stuff shared here, Mark. So much great stuff shared around how to continue to grow and how to continue to make your future bigger than your past.
Have a great process. Bring greater people.
Yeah. Yes. So team, here's to a bigger future. Thanks.